So at first it's overwhelming, I guess. And
As managers, you're in the business of getting work done, right?
true that. Knowing your boss's expectations of what you want to do is 50% the battle of understanding how to be a new leader, because it helps you prioritize.
Your performance is dependent on what your boss thinks you do.
One of the big mistakes I believe that managers do, especially new managers, is
Right? So understanding your team is absolutely important. Not every company has the same problems, and not every company has the same advantages as well. Rule of thumb, do not badmouth about it.
I think it's important for new leaders to get teams ignited on their passion and vision.
Yes man or woman or trying to be the most liked person in the room is not your role. Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Yoka Sessions, where we talk about corporate culture and customer experience. I'm Yogesh.
And I'm Karthik. And today's video is specifically focused for all the new managers out there.
First off, congratulations on your promotion or new job, right? You're stepping into this company or you have stepped up in your role. And that is not very easy. That leap of faith is something the company is taking on you, your manager is taking on you, or you are taking on yourself by moving roles. Good job on that. This video is for you. Karthik, how do we get started? Right? Let's talk about what does it mean to be a new manager?
Well, it's an elevated sense of responsibility, because as an individual contributor, you're worried about your things, your targets, your goals, your OKRs. But suddenly it's no longer about you, right? So you're responsible and accountable for a team or a particular project, and there's something larger than life. So at first it's overwhelming, I guess. And the new managers, the most important thing they got to do is just stay grounded, get back to the basics, and project their learnings to their teams.
Okay, see, this is how I see it, Karthik.
Mm-hmm.
As managers, you're in the business of getting work done, right?
True that.
At the core element, you are actually in the business of communication, which technically means clear comms helps you get work done right. Right. With that, let's jump into our first segment, which is
To know your boss's expectations. And why this is important, I'll go with a sporting analogy. In cricket, teams are nowadays preferring to chase. It's always easier when you have a target in place. You can pace your innings, you can strategize, you can do things at a more measured pace. And there is some method to the madness, right? Even if it's a tough task. So I think for starters, your leader has hired you for a reason and given you the responsibility. So you got to know what is his or her expectation of your role, and what is the time frame for getting it done, because you can't build a mountain in a day, right? In fact, you can't build a mountain itself. But the point is, knowing your boss's expectations of what you want to do is 50% the battle of understanding how to be a new leader, because it helps you prioritize.
absolutely, Karthik. In fact, knowing what is expected in your first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, is it me getting up to speed with the processes? Is it me getting up to speed with the business and its new problems or problems that I wasn't privy to up until now? Or is it something else? Understand what you're going to be measured on in the next 30, 60, and 90 days.
Correct.
This is very, very important. Now, on one side, you have what you're going to be measured on. On the other side, you're talking about how often do I need to give these reports or updates or what have you. Right? There are bosses who love 50,000 Excel sheets and love getting 500 updates and 2,000 emails in a day. And there are bosses who hate it. You need to figure out which one is your boss, right? And is it going to be a weekly meeting? Is it going to be a fortnightly one? Is it going
Cadence.
to be
The cadence is everything.
Exactly. When are these cadence calls happening? And at the end of it, it's a level of trust that you build, right? Understand it. Because at the end of it, it's not what your peers say. It's not what other department people say you do. It's your performance is dependent on what your boss thinks you do. As much as you'd like to disagree with that line, that's the truth. I'm so sorry. Right?
I'm not going to disagree with it, Yogesh. In fact, it's important to know what you're accountable for, and it's important to know what you're going to be measured for. These are two different dimensions, and I think knowing this will set new managers up for success.
Absolutely. Basically, what we're trying to say is 30, 60, 90. What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? How well do I need to do it? And what is the expected pace?
And all the new managers watching this episode, if you've had a 30, 60, 90 day planned request given to you by your leader, don't forget to comment, like, or subscribe to our channel. because we have heard that before, right? 30, 60, 90 days.
We've only heard it before, Karthik. We've not said it apparently.
Yeah. So that brings us to our next segment. I mean, everybody loves statistics. Everybody loves data. And I think in one of the first episodes, you even talked about analysis paralysis, right? Remember, folks, Yogesh showed us about his fancy Excel skills. So we are in a world where there's a sea of data around us. We have ChatGPT, we have the internet, and there is so much of resources, and people expect us to be on top of data and make data-driven decisions. And a lot of actionable insights is what you're hearing in management nowadays. So one of the big mistakes I believe that managers do, especially new managers, is they get this dump of data, or they get these insights which have been studied previously, and they just choose to act on them, right? They make their inferences without testing waters for themselves, because new management gives a chance for new perspective. And one of the important things I believe is, like you mentioned earlier, this is a communication game, and what communication happens between two individuals is unique. So if there was a previous manager and a team and they had a particular rapport, a new leader has a chance to make a new experience, a new connect, and that could unlock something new with the persons, right? Mm-hmm. So I think knowing the team or getting to know the team in a fresh perspective is most important for a new leader. So the 30, 60, 90 day plan that we spoke about, the 30 days, in my humble opinion, should be all about the people. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. At the end of it, it's people working with people. Numbers are good. It gives you direction. It helps you what to focus. It helps you understand what you need to focus on, what you need to focus on a little lesser. But at the end of it, it's getting done by people. Yeah. If you don't understand their strengths, their weaknesses, their areas of improvement, and there are some hard no's. Hey, this is a person who doesn't prefer doing X or Y or Z. And for us to get to know them as people and what those limitations are also helps you set boundaries accordingly, right? In terms of what task is given to them, or take advantage of a skill set that they either want to learn or they're extremely good at, right? So understanding your team is absolutely important. Be it a team of 5, 50 or 500, you will have to understand it at a grassroots level. Maybe not individually when it gets larger, but at least have systems and processes in place that managers are empathetic to understand that this is what their team is, this is what the team consists of, this is the expected outcome on each one of them. Now, moving on to the third topic, which kind of rolls on from the second one, Karthik, is the sea of data that we have. Just because we have like tons of files thrown at us doesn't mean that we look at them and start taking action immediately. We need to pause and understand what's working and what isn't. You walking into a room and saying, hey, you know what, I'm now this new entitled manager and I see why we're not the number one team in this company because everything is crap. Let's just change everything, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think you don't have to just go and dive in and change everything immediately. Understand what's working, what's not working. And there are certain things that are set in place because of the limitations that the environment has. Not every company has the same problems and not every company has the same advantages as well. So understanding this before you take action is very important. So while we talk about the 30, 60, 90-day plan, we're talking about clear communication, clear expectation setting. It's also to understand how this environment, what the processes in this company are like, and taking action from there on. Your thoughts on this, Karthik?
I mean, I'm going to make a movie reference. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite movies, Mudalvan, if you've seen the movie, where a person gets to be a CM for one day and tries to make decisions and change a lot of things in a day. I mean, that's there. It's done in movies. It was hard in the movie itself, but in real life, it's overwhelming to be a new leader. There's a pressure of expectation, and like Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Suddenly, you're accountable for what you achieve, and more importantly, accountable for what you're not achieving. So, with all this pressure riding on you, I think it's important to let things work that were working, right? It's okay. There's no ego clash. If your predecessor had something that was working fine and the process is yielding results and people are happy about it, you don't have to change it just because you got the power in your hands. At the same time, there will be certain aspects of the process which is broken, some aspects of the team which could be broken. Pick your battles, pace it as per quarter, like have a plan for a year. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, you will not be overwhelmed. You'll be able to measure your efficiency as a new leader, and you will be making a positive difference to the team. And there will not be too much inertia, because one of the problems is when everything changes, people resist change. It's natural. I mean, even we have done it in the past. To overcome inertia, I think it's important for a new leader to definitely keep track of the vital few, and just see what are the 2-3 things they want to focus on in this quarter, and maybe take things from where it goes next, right?
Perfect. Karthik, you just led me to another part of the conversation, which is your opinion about predecessors, right? Rule of thumb, do not badmouth about it. You are walking into a room, very likely with people who have worked with the predecessor, who have multiple opinions.
Yep.
And those opinions can be in their favor or not. The only time you speak about them is when you thank them and tell them that this is what they've done, thank you for the role, and move on. Nothing after that, right? There are two kinds of managers, right? One, you're new to the company, where everyone is new, or two, your peers are now your reportees. In both cases, you're new to an environment where there was a manager in place, and they've run it in a particular way. Ideal, not so ideal. Let's not make any judgments right
perspective,
there.
I mean.
It's absolutely, at the end of it, it's perspective and outcomes, right? So walk in, say, this is what I'm going to do for the next 30, 60, 90 days. This is how I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it. And these are my priorities. In that journey, you will learn a fair bit about yourself and the team, right? And that's very, very important. While it's easier said than done, especially when you're a new manager, I like to step back and analyze this entire scenario. Is this the kind of manager you want to be and lead? Because you will be setting the example of the tone in your team. And if you're going to walk in and just blither away some birds that are not safe for work, if I may put it that way, right, and say, this is what we're going to do, it's very likely that you are actually spreading that kind of vibes. And if we're talking about vibes, it better be good.
The leader sets the tone for the pack. The kind of leadership culture that you emulate says not just about who you are, but also gives the idea to the team that how the culture is going to be. They get a perspective. So if you are going to, say, conveniently blame the predecessor for something that's not going right, you're not taking accountability, because you sign up for the good and bad as a leader. That's the kind of message that goes to your team. I mean, let's not dwell on the past. Like you said, show gratitude, thank them for the work it's a journey. And there's continuous process, continuous learning, and continuous improvement, right? So thank them for the journey and move on from there. Forward thinking. What are the immediate goals and priorities for the next couple of quarters? What is the long-term vision they have for the team? I think it's important for new leaders to get teams ignited on their passion and vision, because a driven team, a team that works towards the success of a leader, yields much more result.
Far better results.
And I can say this with absolute pride. The 2 World Cups that India won, 2011 and 2024. 2011, we were driven because they wanted to give a send-off to Sachin. So the captain rallied that sentiment, that emotion, and there was this drive in everybody that they want to see the leader succeed and they want to see the players send off in style. This time it was possibly Rohit's. It is Rohit's last T20 World Cup. Again, the team rallied on that sentiment. Rallying and aggregating emotions towards a particular goal is a very, very underrated factor that is key for successful teams. And for that, a leader needs to establish his or her brand very clearly. And you should not be dwelling on the past. You should talk about the future and talk about what you are and what you're bringing to the table and what is your vision, and get people hooked onto the vision.
Well said, Karthik. Moving on. Also an important thing, according to me, is as managers or as first-time managers, you tend to want to be the person who's liked by everyone. Let's be popular. Let's say yes. Let me break it to you, that's not going to happen, right? There are people who are going to disagree with what you're saying, and that's okay, because you are looking at it from a different lens. Now that you're a people manager, you're talking about the impact it has on everyone else and business and the other things that you're accountable for, right? So being a yes man or woman or trying to be the most liked person in the room is not your role. Your role is defined by your manager, and the expectation that is set needs to be rolled down accordingly. So be prepared for that life. Once I totally understand that this changes drastically when a peer is now your reportee.
That's tricky.
Right? That's a tricky space. But how you maneuver these conversations, how you set these expectations is very, very important. It's not like, hey, I want to be best friends with you, and just because I'm your best friend, I expect you to do this. No. We have now different roles which are defined, different expected outcomes, and having this clearly ironed out and set in stone, perhaps, at least when you get started in your 30, 60, 90, is super important.
That is super important, Yogesh. And I think as a new leader, one of the things that they fear, I would say, is apart from not being popular, they fear to have difficult conversations.
Tell me
Right.
about it.
So that's part of the gig. If you look at every great invention in history of mankind, or humanity for that matter, it's because somebody disagreed. You disagreed with the norm. Hey, why should I go walking? Why can't I go faster? Like, why should I use a manual toothbrush? Why can't I make the electric toothbrush? And every invention is spurred by, I would say, some form of disagreement. So disagreement is a good thing. And leaders should encourage open dialogue and encourage people to have those difficult conversations in a respectful way, obviously, in a professional demeanor. But it is okay if certain people in your team are not okay with the decision that you have taken. That's part of the gig. Because in my humble opinion, Yogesh, I believe that if you are taking decisions and everybody is happy about it and everything is, sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, perhaps we have got to do something better or something different. Because that is a tricky space. It doesn't happen too often in my experience.
I think those are good 5 pointers, Karthik. So first we spoke about know what your manager's expectations are. Second, we're talking about just don't dump into data, understand your team because you're working with people. 3, we're talking about immediate actions that you take as soon as you get the roles. Kind of analyze the scenario, step back and look at it. 4, we're talking about your predecessors, what you say, what you definitely don't say, and what's the tone you set with your team. And 5, you can't be everyone's friend. You need to make those decisions, right? I would say these are the top 5, Karthik, according to me. I'd like to know your views if you have some more points and perhaps add it to our next topic. But before that, why don't you like, subscribe, share this video? It'll help us out and perhaps get a lot more confident on what we do. Thank you for watching the 3rd episode. Look forward to the next.